Good morning, everybody. My name is Michelle Belle-Isle. I teach 8th grade Algebra 1 at Grand Bay Middle School. And today we're going to talk about distributions of data and measures of center. We're going to take a look at some graphs, and we're going to take a look and see what those graphs look like, what they mean, some things that we can understand just by looking at those graphs. And then we're going to look at some data and some things that we can infer just by looking at that data. So let's look at this first graph. This is a histogram. When we look at this first graph, the one thing that we can tell by looking at this graph is that it is symmetrical. If you look at this graph, if you draw a line down the center of this graph, what do you see? You see that all of the data is distributed evenly. If we draw a line down the center of this graph, everything on this side, it's all equal. Let's look at this next one. This is called a dot plot. What you do is you take all of your data. We have how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 twos, 3 threes, and 1 4. Now, what do we know by looking at this? If we look at this, it's shaped this way. All of our data, the majority of our data is to the left of the dot plot, but we do have some data to the right. So instead of it being symmetrical, the majority is centered to the left, which means it's skewed to which direction? Skewed to the right. If it's skewed to the right, what does that tell you about your mean? Well, first let's talk about the mean. Let's go write that word over here. Mean. We're going to talk about several different words. We're going to talk about mean, we're going to talk about median, and we're going to talk about mode. What does the word mean mean? Mean is average. And Miss Belle-Isle can't write today, and her students know that that's pretty common. Mean means average. That's where you take all of the numbers that you have, add them together, and divide by the total number. Median. What does median mean? The median is the number that's in the middle. So if you have 13 numbers, you get rid of the 6 on the one side, the 6 on the other side, and you pick the one in the middle. Mode is the most frequent. But right now I'm going to talk about the mean of this. The mean is the average. If I want to look at this that is skewed to the right, and I want to talk about the average. The average is adding the numbers together, dividing by the total number. If it's skewed to the right, what does that do to the average? Well, you can't answer me because I can't hear you, but let's think about that for a minute. You would think that your average would be right here in this number somewhere, but if you have more numbers that are out here that are larger, your average is going to tend to pull in this direction because you have larger numbers that will pull your average in this direction, that will pull your mean in this direction. So that's what it means to skew it to the right, or skew it in this way in a positive direction. Let's go back to this one for a minute. Your mean here, since it's symmetrical, where do you think your mean would be? Your mean is going to be in the middle, in the center, because you add these together, you divide by the total number, and so your average is going to be in the middle. Okay? Let's look at this. This is a Box-and-Whisker plot. You get a lot of information from a Box-and-Whisker plot. This dot right here is your minimum. That's the smallest number out of your data. So that would make this dot your maximum, right? Your highest number in your data. It's divided into what's called quartiles. I can write that number, or write that word, not that number. Quartile. quartile sounds like what? Quartile sounds like 4. So if we talk about the word quartile and we divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 4 places that we're dividing it into. We have the first quartile, the second quartile, the third quartile. That means all of the data that falls in here, you divide everything into 4. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and then your last fourth of your data falls there. So half of your data falls right here. So the majority of your data is right here. 1/4 of it is here, 1/4 of it is here, and the rest of your data on your box and whisker plot is right here. So if you look at it that way, which way do you think this box and whisker plot is skewed? It's skewed this way. So it's not skewed to the left like this one. It's not skewed to the right like this one. It's skewed to the left. So your tail is to the left. So that means that your mean or your average, when you average your numbers together, is pulled in which direction? Your mean, your average, is pulled to the left. But guess what else a box and whisker plot tells you without you having to do anything or figure anything out? This line right here, without you having to do anything, if you're given a box and whisker plot, this line is your median right here. This line is the middle number in all of your data. So if we look at this one, this line, this is 60, this is 80, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this line would be about what? 60, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 67, 68. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to compare some data, 2 different types of data. And I've gathered some data on my own. I went out to the Sweet Tooth Ice Creamery, okay? And I questioned them and I said, how many gallons of chocolate ice cream do you sell a week? Sell a week? And how many gallons of vanilla ice cream do you sell a week? And why would it be beneficial for them to know this? They need to know how many to buy ahead of time because they don't need to overbuy chocolate. Of course, personally, I think, the more chocolate you buy, the better, because chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla ice cream, right? I agree. Chocolate is better than vanilla. That's my favorite. They don't need to overbuy vanilla ice cream because they don't need all that vanilla ice cream left over in their freezer. So they need to know how much chocolate to buy, how much vanilla to buy. So they've done a survey, and this is on average for last week, how many gallons of chocolate they sold, how many gallons of vanilla they sold. So they need to know how many roughly they need to buy each week. So what I want us to do is to sit down and see what their average sales of chocolate and vanilla ice cream is. So let's look at it. We can find 3 different averages. We can find the mean, the median, and the mode. Now, we need to remember that each of these averages is a different measure. The mean is the average where you add them together and divide by the total number. The median is the number in the middle. Now, when you find that number in the middle, you have to put them in order from least to greatest, not in the order that they appear. So we have to take those numbers and rewrite them in order from least to greatest. The mode, you remember what the mode is. That's the one that occurs at the most frequency. So what I have to do, I have to take these numbers and I have to rewrite them over here so I can come up with each of these averages. So let's do that. And I'm going to take my little cheat sheet real quickly because I have these numbers written down. And I've also cheated at home because I already have the math done, so I didn't have to bring a calculator. But I'm going to show you how we came up with all of these. So chocolate, I'm going to rewrite these right here. I'm going to erase this because we know what mean, median, and mode mean. And I'm going to rewrite mean, median, and mode. And this is what we're doing right now. We are going to compare these two sets of data using mean, median, and mode. And we're going to decide which one they use the most of. We're also going to talk about spread. And what spread is the difference between the highest and the lowest, the minimum and the maximum. I'm going to leave this here for right now because I don't need it. So chocolate. Let's look at chocolate. On Monday, they sold 1 gallon. On Tuesday, they sold 2 gallons. Wednesday, they sold 2 gallons. Thursday, they sold 1 gallon. Friday, 2 gallons. Saturday, 6 gallons. And Sunday, 3 gallons. Really quickly, why do you think they sold less here and more here? My thinking would be, and they did the same here, there's less here, more here. More sale on the weekends, right? I want chocolate, I want chocolate every day. Just ask my fellow teachers, ask my students that I teach, ask my principal. I have a snack drawer. It has lots of chocolate in it. No chocolate ice cream, but lots of other chocolate. But you're going to sell more chocolate, more vanilla, more ice cream on the weekend than you are at the beginning of the week. If you look at this, you have 1, 2, how many the next day? 2, 1, 2, and then 6, and then how many that last day? 3. Left skewed. You're selling more at the beginning of at the end of the week than at the beginning. But let's get back to this. Let's find our mean, median, and mode. Let's find our mean, median, and mode. So we're going to set them up. I should have left that up there. How many ones do we have? We have 1, 2 ones. How many 2s do I have? 3 2s. And then how many 3s do I have? 1 3 and 1 6. This is my chocolate. And then vanilla, I have what? 1 2 3 1s, 4 1s. One, 2, a 3, and a 4. You see how I wrote them in number from least to greatest, or in order from least to greatest. 1 1, 2 2 2, 3 6. That's how many gallons of chocolate they sold. 1 1 1, 1, 2 3 4. That's how many gallons of vanilla they sold. So what do I do now? If I want to find the mean of the chocolate, this is chocolate. I add these together. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2, 2, 2, that's 6. 6 plus 2 is what? 8. 8 plus 3 is 11, plus 6 is 17. So that's 17 divided by 7, and I did the math already. So that's 2.4 gallons of chocolate. The median is what? The number in the middle. So the middle of 7, I get rid of 3. So I'm going to mark those out. I get rid of 3. It's going to be the number in the middle, which is the 2. And then the mode is the number that occurs the most frequently. And once again, the mode is 2. So let's look at vanilla. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 4 is 13. And I'm going to divide that by 7 as well because there are 7 days of the week. And then I do believe I did that math incorrectly. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm getting out of the way. I'm going to do this, 13 divided by 7. 7 goes into 13, 1. That's 6. That's 0. That's a decimal. And I'm just going to say 1.0 because I'm going to leave it at 1. So we're going to say roughly 1.0. That's how many gallons of vanilla roughly they sold a week. Okay? Let's do this. Median, we're going to get rid of 3. We're going to get rid of 3. That's our mean. Our median is 1. And our mode is also 1. Now, what do I do next? I want to look at the spread. What did we say the spread was? The difference between your high and your low. So my spread for chocolate, 6 minus 1 is 5. And my spread for my vanilla, 4 minus 1 is 3. Now let's talk about these numbers for a minute. My average, did we sell more chocolate or more vanilla? Well, if I look at the mathematical average, the mean, I sold more chocolate. 2 versus 1 gallon. If I look at the median, the number in the middle, 2 versus 1. If I look at the mode, the number that occurs more frequently, 2 versus 1. So I'm selling more chocolate, but the spread, I have 1 gallon of chocolate and 6 gallons of chocolate, so there's 5. There's a greater spread there, and there's less of a spread of vanilla. What do you think? Do you think I should buy more chocolate or buy less chocolate than I do vanilla? Doesn't matter which I like. Should I buy more chocolate or more vanilla? Yeah, I think I should buy more chocolate too. I sold more chocolate than I did vanilla. I think that's a good way to look at it. Okay, let's do this. Let's set up a box-and-whisker plot. Let's see if we can do that. How do we set up a box-and-whisker plot with this data? Okay. The median is what? Let's do it with just the chocolate. What's my median? What's my minimum? And let's talk about how you set up a box-and-whisker plot. Let's write that back down again. Let's get rid of vanilla, and let's write down everything we know. We need to have our minimum. Our minimum is 1. Our maximum is 6. Our median is 2. And we're going to set up a box-and-whisker plot of the total number that we have. So let's do this. And you know what? I was just told that I have just a few more minutes left. So I'm going to stop that and not do a box and whisker plot, and I think that might be okay. So let's just talk one more little bit about what we have and what we did, and let's talk about mean, median, and mode and what they mean. What is mean? Mean is the average. How do you get the mean? You get the mean by adding up the numbers that you have and dividing by the total numbers that you have. What does that tell you? That tells you the average of the data that you have. Median. What is the median? The median is the middle number. It's the one when you take all of those numbers and you line them up from least to greatest. It's the one in the actual middle. Okay? That's what median is. Now mode. What is mode? Mode is the number that occurs the most frequently. It's the one that you're going to see the most in all of your data. That's what mode is. And when we look back over here, 1, 2, 1, 4, 1 is our mode. When we look here, 2 is our mode. And we had to calculate our mean. We had to line them up from least to greatest to find our median. Now, next week, when we come back, we're going to talk about variance, standard deviation, and measures of spread. And I hope you guys will join me next week, and I hope you'll tell your classmates to join us next week when we talk about variance, standard deviation, and measures of spread. I know 10 o'clock is early in the morning, and a lot of you may not be up yet. A lot of your classmates may not be up yet. But try to wake up, join us at 10 o'clock in the morning next week. See you then.